So this deleted tweet could actually change ISIS forever and potentially impact millions of people. And it came from a guy called Torsten Bell, who's the chief executive of the Resolution Foundation, which is an economic think tank. He's also been associated with the coordination of policy developments for the Labour Party, and he was selected as the Labour candidate for the seat of Swansea West in the coming general election. So this is quite a big hitter and someone to take seriously, and this is his tweet, which is now deleted, and he's basically saying at a minimum we should be capping total ISA savings at £100,000. And in the original tweet he also added, why on earth is the state spending billions subsidising savings that large? Well, I actually disagree with that, because ISAs are paid in after tax, so after national insurance and income tax, and if you own a business, it's after VAT, after corporation tax, and after dividend tax, which actually is quite a lot of tax. So if you've got a VAT registered company, every pound over 50,000 or whatever the higher rate is, 50,270, I think, you are effectively, after VAT, corporation tax, dividend tax, you have an effective tax rate at 58.59%, and you will get people who say, oh, but VAT is paid by the customer. But if your customer's just an ordinary person, they don't care about VAT because they're not claiming it back. So as soon as you go over that 85k, you've got to jack your prices up 20% because you've got to give that money to the government, which makes you less competitive. But this is a different subject that I won't go into at the moment. So ISAs are paid in after tax, and then not to mention the stealth tax. So more and more people are paying high rates of tax, and what I mean by that is that these allowances haven't actually changed for some time, but we've had inflation. So yes, wages have gone up, things have got more expensive. So is it a real pay rise? Sometimes not. If the price of everything goes up 20% and you get a 10% pay rise, well, it's not really a pay rise. But the stealth tax, a lot of people going into the higher rate and paying 40% on those earnings above 50,271, so I was out by £1. And yeah, that is, they haven't moved up with inflation, so more people are paying tax. But ISAs essentially are the last frontier. They do allow people to build real wealth through investing. But if you cap ISAs at £100,000, this can be reached quickly if you compound at 5%. Now, the S&P 500 has averaged 9.9% CAGR over the last 100 plus years. Now, is that guaranteed every year? No, because some years it's going to be down, some years it's going to be up. But over the long run, just under 10%, so 5% I think is quite conservative. So if we model off £100 a month at 5%, you aren't going to get there. However, I think £100 is quite minimal for a lot of people. I mean, unfortunately for some, £100 is also a lot, but we're going on general here. £100 per month at 8%, you can see that it will take 26 years to get there. If we model a bit higher per month, so £250 per month at 8%, then it's going to take just over 16 years. Now, what happens if this is no longer tax advantageous? Well, investors will just turn to property, which is bad because getting on the property ladder is hard enough already for younger people. And if we cap ISAs, then people turn to housing as an investment, which inflates the property market even more. And the issue isn't that there aren't enough landlords, it's there's not enough houses. So you've probably seen in London that people, there are crowds of people waiting to view 2-bed properties in reasonable areas, and I had to pay 6 months up front just to secure it. So there aren't enough properties, and yes, landlords have fled the market, but really the problem is there's just not enough houses. But this assumes one thing. This cap assumes one thing. It assumes that we don't already have a problem with a lack of investment in UK markets, and that is absolutely not the case. Now, the UK stock market is seeing private equity and foreign investors buy out our listed companies on the cheap on an almost weekly, sometimes daily basis. Last week alone, we had another 2-3 bids come through. The UK stock market is fundamentally cheap. Obviously, not all stocks are cheap because some of them are just trash. Certainly on the AIM market, plenty of them are trash. But our stocks are cheap, and that's because we're just not buying them. And if anything, we should be encouraging people to invest more, not deterring them. So what does this mean for us? It does mean ISAs may no longer be the tax advantage for the ordinary person. Pensions could be next. If ISAs are going to be raided, then essentially everything is fair game. And more people will leave the UK and take their money with them. So I've got a friend who moved to Dubai. We went there in February to see if we would like it. I think it's too hot most of the year, but it is tax-free completely. Germany is very tax-heavy, but if we end up getting taxed a lot in the UK, then we might as well go to Germany because everything works there and it's just a better quality of life. But essentially, if people are no longer getting ISAs and they can't really build wealth, it's not really great. So a better solution, in my view, is to increase real wages so people can invest. And this suggests that that isn't happening because we've got a chart saying that 3.1 million emergency food parcels were given out in the year 23 to 24. We're supposed to be one of the richest countries on the planet, and yet the food parcel amounts keep going up every year, which is just disgusting, really. It shouldn't be happening. We got plenty of people on the breadline. Wages need to go up. So we got increase real wages, stimulate investment, not deter it. And yes, the British ISA is a gimmick. It's only a real addition if you get £5,000 extra. If it is £5,000 within the existing 20, then it's going to be a capital restriction. But again, this, a lot of people don't have £20,000 a month. £20,000 a year to invest in stocks. So it comes back to the first thing is to increase real wages. And also, you can get around the British ISA quite easily. So if it is an extra £5,000 to be invested in British stocks, you just decrease your pensions weighting to British stocks by £5,000 and then use the £5,000 extra in the British ISA. So you can get around this very easily. I mean, I've just explained how to do it very quickly. It's not very well thought out, but I think it was an idea to win some votes and not really well thought through. Again, that's another topic. But personally, I feel like we should increase financial education in the UK, and this is something I try to do with my YouTube. There's a lot of people out there, but essentially in school I learned simultaneous equations, Pythagoras theorem. I've never calculated the radii of a circle since my GCSE maths exam. Obviously, if you go into engineering or something, then you might need it, or physics, or some discipline where you do need to understand those things. But mortgages, interest rates, compounding, things like this, they're just not taught. Okay, compounding was taught, but mortgages and taxes, things like that, just completely missed out that everyday people need. So for me personally, I think this 100,000 tax, 100,000 limit on the ISA is a bad idea. But I would love to know your thoughts, so please let me know in the comments. And yeah, looking forward to hear from you. Thanks for watching.